There's a couple cardinals calling at each other. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good people. Welcome back to another video on this channel. Make it an amazing day. I'm your host, Johan. We're here under the sacred trees by the sacred creek at the sacred grove, having a sacred moment. I built this grove in honor of my ancestors, the Danes, the Vikings, and their ancestors, the tribes and clans from Magna Germania. Earth, nature was very important to them. Farming, first and foremost. Maybe you didn't figure it out by now. But if you're coming to this channel for a daily dose of feel good, I just may not be the type of person that delivers it the way you expect it to be delivered. I want you to know, if you're just a spiritually awakened person, if you're a mystic, well, you claim to be a mystic, you're a shaman, you claim to be a shaman, you're a spiritual teacher, you use various methods, many ancient, by the way, to get a message across, to get people thinking, to get people to ask the right questions. If you're those, you better know it comes with responsibility. You have a responsibility to yourself. You have a responsibility to those around you. You have a responsibility to those that are listening to your teachings or your readings, whatever you're doing. You have a responsibility to them as well. You have a responsibility to this world we live in, this planet. I have to laugh at the comments I'm getting on that video I made, Don't Mess with the Chosen Ones. We're battle tested. There's a lot of people that get it. And then there's just some people that, and I'm going to talk about them because your responsibility, as I just mentioned earlier, I don't want to call them your enemy, but if I say you need to know your enemy, you know what I'm talking about. Not everyone is my enemy. They may become my enemy based on how they act, how they treat me. But you get the gist of it. Why do I need to know about toxic people, negative people? It's your duty to know. You just can't preach one side of the coin or teach one side of the coin without knowing the other side. You can't appreciate the sunny day without a dark day. Let's talk about how unfortunate it is to be one of those people who can't be serious at all. They can't be serious at all. Ever have that experience and said to somebody, I can't believe you just said that, right? How about this one? I can't believe you just did that. I'm not talking about a kid, right? I'm talking about adults, 20 years plus, 30 years, in their 40s. I can't believe you just did that, in their 40s. You've had that experience, I know you have. That's how I feel sometimes when I look at some of the comments I get. I could have 100 comments on a video and only 2 or 3 are negative, but however, albeit nonetheless, I understand why those people say the things they do say. And so even if it's a negative comment, I like it, and I put the heart by it, because you're teaching me a lesson. You're showing me, if I go backwards from this path I'm on, I'll wind up just like you. Yeah. Oh, look, he paused, just like Joe Biden does. That's a big one now. Look, he paused, just like Joe Biden does. You know who says that? People that are twisted. People that don't have a sense of reality. People who don't have a sense of who they are and the part they play in the world. They think their part is to be the court jester. I wouldn't want to live with one, be the husband or wife of one. I wouldn't want to be the children of a person like that. Thank you for showing me what not to be. Thank you for showing me if I fall backwards, I'll be just like you. No thanks. I'm going to leave a couple of links below, because now we're going to go to the second chapter of this video, gratitude. I know, antennas are up, ears are perked up, gratitude, yay! Or gratitude, no, not again. It's not what you think. If you've watched a few of my videos, a lot of the topics, we just don't go deep. We get gangster about spiritual things. Gangster. That means I'm going to tell it to you like it is, and you may not like it, but I still love you. Here's the question. Say chapter 2, gratitude. Here's the first sentence of this chapter. Why are some people more grateful than others? That's a question. And there's a scientific answer. Who'd have thunk it? I'll guarantee you this. Back in the day, I'm talking thousands of years before the Common Era, Greece, perhaps, when they had those schools of thought, this topic was debated, wow, to the nth degree 3,000-4,000 years ago, right? And some of the records of what they did back then survived because the church or governments didn't destroy all of it. Thank the gods. The oracles wrote on the walls and the pillars in Greece in ancient times, times of antiquity. Know thyself. Why are some people more grateful than others? Think about that for a minute. Why are some people more grateful than others? Well, if you understand the origin of the word gratitude, it goes back to Latin, Middle English, and French. Gratitude means thankful, pleasing. You're pleased by something. So why are some people more thankful than others? Why are some people more pleased than others? I'm going to tell you, kind of paraphrase what I learned and I can't leave a link in my own description box because YouTube wants a copy of my passport, my driver's license, sign some kind of security paper. I'm not doing that. So I'll write out the page. I'll write out the internet page and then the title of the conversation that you look for about why some people are more grateful than others. Don't just take it from me, ever. Research it yourself. And if you don't agree with me, start your own channel, okay? The first reason listed why some people aren't as grateful as others, let's go from there, is because they have cognitive problems. Cognitive problems. There are issues with their memory. There are issues with the learning process. There are issues with how they take information and respond. They're disabled, in other words. Now, the little creatures, and if you have a channel, you know, or just in life in general, the little creatures that throw a pot shot at you, leave a negative comment at you, you can laugh at them now and in a way feel sorry for them because they may fall under that category of having cognitive function problems that are disabled. Their memory, how they process reality, how they respond to things, experiences. They're disabled. Not in a sense that you could actually get money for the disability. Chances are they don't even know they're disabled. They don't know that what goes on in their mind isn't the same as most people. And if you read what I'm going to put in the description, why some people aren't as grateful as others has to do with their personality and character. Whoa! I mentioned it before, and I will mention it again, and this won't be the last time. I was introduced to spirituality in 1988 through the 12 steps of the 12-step program, and steps 6 and 7 have to do with character and personality, defects and shortcomings. You want to talk about taking a course, those 12 steps? And you don't have to be an addict to take them. You want to talk about taking a course? 6 and 7. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. I could write a book just on those 2 steps. So these people that aren't as grateful as others, their faculties in their mind are disabled for some reason. What could that reason be? Their personality and character. How do we develop a personality and character? Aside from the point you may have been born with what I call a glitch in the system, a legit malfunction, aside from that, your personality is what you learned growing up or what you didn't learn. My leg's asleep. What you were taught, what you weren't taught. How your parents, your step-parents, or your guardian treated you. Did they baby you and not let you learn life's lessons? Instead of teaching you a lesson from an experience, did they bash you, beat you with a belt, punish you, take your phone, put you in your room for a week, not teach you a life lesson? And you're one of those that isn't as grateful as others. And if you have a learning impairment, I'm not talking about the legit one, you're born with a malfunction, and that learning impairment is a result of how you were raised and the personality and character you developed over the years, and whether you eat properly, whether you exercise or not, whether you practice a strict religion or not, whether you practice spiritual steps or not, you're just set on doing shit your own way. And you don't care how it affects anyone else. And to get to step 6 and 7 in the 12-step program, of course, you go through the other steps. So I learned a lot there. Why are some people not as grateful as others? Why are they not as thankful? Why are they not as pleased? They could be narcissists. You could say they have big egos, which is another way of saying self-centered. Self-centered, it's all about me. All about me. That has a lot to do with how they were raised. They were coddled. They never were allowed to experience pain. When they got in a jam as a kid, a parent, step guardian got into the way and got them out of it without not letting them experience a life lesson. They were always bailed out, and they're still in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they still want to be bailed out. King babies, they're called. King babies. So your personality, your character has to do with it. You get it? Are you following me now? Do you understand now why some people are not as grateful as others? Do you understand now why some people are more grateful than others? And here is the key to put into the proverbial lock. There are many on this channel who have experienced horrible childhoods. Okay? They, for one reason or another, were not allowed to experience pain growing up. Somebody stepped in and coddled them and kept them safe. Or worse, on the other side, which I understand a lot, we were brutalized by people that were supposed to care for us when we made a mistake. And we weren't taught the life lesson. But yet, here we are now. We're not that way. Something happened. We took the road less traveled. Remember when you were in school there was the class clown? Make derogatory comments about the teacher, then everybody would laugh. The class clown was crying inside. The class clown was not loved. In any sense of the way, we were loved, even if we weren't loved like a lot of other people. You get what I'm saying? That was their way to get attention. I was one. Again, you don't have to be an addict to look at those 12 steps of the 12-step program, and I ask you to look at them. Just look at them. Google 12 steps of the 12-step program and read them. In the foreword of the book that was made, produced, published in 1955 called The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, it says in there, spiritual principles are codified into each step. Where did those spiritual principles come from? Well, they came from the medical societies. And if you're aware and know a little bit, there were medical doctors, physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, William James, Carl Jung. They're even mentioned in the beginning of the big book, the first book that was published in 1939, I believe it was 39. But there is so much in there. There's a little bit of everything. There were also, it says, the spiritual principles codified into those 12 steps came from religions. Now, back in the 30s up to the 50s, everything was called a religion. Buddhism was called a religion. Catholicism was called a religion. Orthodox was called a religion. Islam was called a religion. Christianity was called a religion. Hinduism was called a religion. They were all called religions. It's not like spiritual path, spiritual way. And it would take 20 videos to explain all these different religions and paths. But you get the point. They studied these various religions, spiritual paths. They got input from doctors, psychiatrists, and then it says from our own experience. I learned a lot from studying the Stoics. Anyhow, I'm going to finish this video with this. Remember early on I said, well, we really don't want to call them the enemy. You know, maybe they're not the enemy at first, these less than human acting people, less than mature folk. But for the sake of this video, for the sake of I made a video about this. What is enemy? The root of the word enemy. What does it mean? Just people that aren't kind to you. So, in that context, we're talking about, okay, enemies. Well, how did they get to be your enemy? Because they said one thing you didn't like, you were hurt, frustrated, disappointed, or annoyed, but for most of the part, they're pretty decent folk? Or are they constantly obnoxious, arrogant, hurtful, prideful, stabbing? In that case, they're your enemy because you want to distance yourself from that abuse. Who said this? Who said this? We have met the enemy, and the enemy is I. I have met the enemy, and the enemy is I. This is the point of this video. Going back to the oracles in ancient Greece, to know thyself. Know yourself. Search the flaws. Search for the defects. Search for the shortcomings. In that search, you'll find out why you were acting that way. Some of it's just our natural instinct to respond. A lot of it, as I mentioned, is we weren't taught life lessons, or we were coddled. We were bailed out. We were beaten and abused because we made a mistake. All those things. But before you can understand other people, it's imperative that you understand yourself. And that's what I meant when I first said people that, spiritual people, teachers, mystics, whatever your title is, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to know what you're talking about. People are listening to what you're saying. Ace, yeah. You just don't start a channel and say, oh, I'm this. It's a process. My process started in 1988 when I was introduced to spirituality. You can watch my videos and figure it out. But if you don't know yourself, okay? If you don't know yourself, how can you understand someone else? There's an old adage, and you could look at this from two different angles, that why should a couple that practice the Catholic faith, why should a couple married that has marriage problems go to a priest who's never been married? Seriously now. Don't start leaving shit comments. Seriously. Can a man, a holy man, who's never had a marriage experience, help a married couple? On the one hand, you might say no. On the other hand, you might think about it and say, well, my leg fell asleep. Anyway, those people who are constantly berating you, and it's nonstop, they don't like you. They probably don't like themselves. They have cognitive disabilities. They may be aware of them, but they just like being assholes. It could be narcissists. It could be how they grew up. Maybe they weren't taught lessons. Maybe their parents abandoned them and somebody else had to raise them. There's all these things. Do you know? Do you know what goes on around you? Do you really? So, my first sponsor in AA used to say, people will teach you what to do and people will teach you what not to do. I love my life. I don't need a lot of things to be grateful. Just sitting here, watching the wind blow through the trees, watching the shadows, the different colors, listening to the creek, to see the sun reflecting off the creek as the water moves in and out of rocks and stones, and the birds, cardinals, robins, sparrows, finches, even that highway over there. There are people, they are people traveling. Most of them are responsible people, going to their job or getting supplies for the home or something important like that. You know, I didn't build this grove till about 2 years ago. I built it because I felt moved to do it. I had this piece of property and it just dawned on me one day to expand my morning routine and my daily routine, prayer, meditation, and self-examination, to expand it down here. And just like my ancestors, and probably yours too, Celtic, Gaelic, Scottish, lots, anywhere, Africa, all these places, Japan, China, Mongolia, all these places, Siberia, they had some type of sanctuary. And a sanctuary isn't a safe place. A sanctuary is a sacred place. It's where we commune with everything we could see around us. And some of us that go deep into meditation, you could say trance, you could say going to the other side. This is the place it happens. This is the place it happens. A lot happens here. A lot. For the common good. all right, for the common good. And if you don't have a place like this, find one. Maybe you know someone with property, and you could just take a little place and, with permission, dig a fire pit and put a chair there. Maybe you could decorate it when you investigate your ancestors like I did. I decorated it. I decorated the sacred grove to attract good spirits, to deflect bad spirits, because that's what our ancestors did. Anyway, make it an amazing day. Make it. It's your choice. It's your decision what kind of day you're going to have. And not just that, make it an amazing life. It's your choice. It's your decision what kind of life you're going to have. So have a good one. Keep your heart kind. Keep your mind calm and clear. You don't have to put up with them, but now you could have some compassion for these toxic people. And whether you want to tolerate them day in and day out, if it's somebody close to you, is up to you. In a way, now that you know what you know, how out of balance they are, why they are the way they are, maybe because of their upbringing, all those things I mentioned. I could forgive them. And forgiveness means this. I've done a video on it. Forgiveness means this. 1, I will not retaliate. 2, I will forget about it. Okay? That's what forgiveness is all about. It's for you, not for them. If you have truly been like those unfortunates, those ungrateful people, those people with cognitive disabilities, impairments, not talking about being born with them, I'm talking about lack of learning as they grew up, or brutality like a lot of us experienced growing up. You know, we were abused. If you've overcome that, don't have a better than now attitude, you know? Because now you understand the suffering. You understand the suffering. I'm not talking about people that have been physically abused, tortured, mentally abused, tortured. You need to get help for that. You need to go to counseling for that. The proper authorities need to be told about it. I'm just talking about probably half a society on this planet. They're not grateful, like the rest of us, for the reasons I described. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.